Hi everyone, welcome to today's daily dose reading. This is going to be an energy collective reading as well. So it's kind of a multitasking read that I've designed for today. So what we've got here is earth, water, fire and air. So we're doing elemental reading. So you can either watch just your element according to the sun sign that you want to check in on, either for you or another person. Or you can watch the whole reading as an energy collective, covering the topics related to each of the elements. So, Earth would look at issues with regard to home life, work, finance, career, those kind of things. Water would maybe address issues around relationships or emotions. Fire will look at creativity. It could look at any areas where there might be tension or challenge. And air will address issues around communication, thoughts, ideas, etc. But don't get too fixed on that, because sometimes things come through that just need to come through and it may not have specifically relevance to those particular topics. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with earth. So I'm going to set these aside and come back to them in a second. So what do we have for the earth pile? I'm going to start with this deck first. High Priestess reverse, King of Swords upright, and Nine of Wands. Alright. So, what I feel here is that there's something uncomfortable that needs your communication. Like there's a topic here that could be making you feel a little bit either flabbergasted, frustrated, irritable, overwhelmed, or intimidated, that you feel like you need to speak up about, but for some reason you don't feel completely comfortable or safe even to do so. So there's an energy here of feeling frustrated and a little bit downhearted or disenchanted with the current circumstance that you find yourself in, because you can see clearly what the truth is, or you can see clearly what needs to be expressed. You can feel and understand what needs to be communicated, but for some reason with the High Priestess in reverse here, I feel that you feel like you have to be mute, that you have to be silent, and that you may not be able to speak up and express the truth that you can see very clearly. And so that's leaving you feeling very frustrated and very almost debilitated for some of you. The King of Swords here is giving a kind of the clarity that I was describing here, where the truth is like known. There's also a stoicism with him. But yeah, the Nine of Wands is showing here that you've had a lot of endurance for a particular topic or a particular event that's been making you feel very irritated and frustrated and even angry perhaps. And that I still feel that's still ongoing. Let's see what the other three cards here are that we have. There's the Lovers, Eight of Wands, and Seven of Pentacles. That's interesting. So for some, okay, we did say at the beginning that the Earth reading is going to speak about mundane, daily life kind of stuff, but that I felt like that first interpretation could apply in a lot of different ways. So work with the messages as you find appropriate and apply them in your life in the ways that will help you find a way through and to feel more confidence and clarity in your decisions and in your daily life. So Lovers, Eight of Wands, and Seven of Pentacles. This is actually really beautiful. I'm finding that the energy coming off these cards is that it could be a carry-on from the initial reading there, where for some of you, if there has been a topic that you are wanting to communicate about, here it says that you're actually able to make a breakthrough and realize a way through a difficult communication, and you've been able to find the right language, you've been able to find the right moment, you've been able to find the right frequency to address someone, to bring information to a person, to help heal a painful situation or to help heal a dissonance or a tear. This is beautiful. I really like this energy. It feels like a relief, like a weight has been lifted after a long period perhaps of holding back or of reservation or of stagnation or of emotional bottling. This to me expresses a moment of revelation, of a relief, of like the bottling up has been released, and there's not that same feeling of having to hold back that the High Priestess in reverse was having there. And what it does is allow for reconciliation, it allows for healing, it allows for union, it allows for reconnection, it allows for harmony, and it creates a kind of gently activating energy where understanding can be experienced. And I mean, like on one end, like on a sort of mild end of the spectrum, that would simply, like I said, create a kind of reconnection and understanding and mutual kind of forgiveness, let's say. On the other extreme of that, there is a more highly attuned energy towards some kind of more profound, deeper spiritual activation. That's what I'm getting with this 8 of Wands and the 7 of Pentacles. Like almost an enlightenment, you know, or for some of you, what this could be here, 8 of Wands and 7 of Pentacles, it's as if you have spoken something into actual manifestation. You know, like whereas here there was some holding back and there was an inability to communicate something that you could see very clearly, and that was causing frustration, irritability, depletion. Here, there's a breakthrough moment where you realize that a specific way to communicate about something is what is helping a situation become activated and become energized and brought into being. And it could be with the help of another person. It could be something that you simply do on your own, and the Lovers here is just simply indicating that you have come into alignment with your own true north, like your own your integrity has become merged with your values, with your ideas, with your imagination, with your inspiration, and all of that is sort of working together to overcome any kind of personal resistance or personal self-sabotage, to move forward with something that you feel passionate about and bring it into reality. I feel that could be it for this, for the Earth sign. I'm going to just double check here, but I feel like we're ready to move on now. Whatever this is here, like if you have been holding back, if you haven't been able to speak a truth, if you haven't been able to express something, what's important to remember is that sometimes that's actually the right action. You know, while we're always taught to kind of speak up and be honest and always, you know, give information that will be helpful to kind of clear the air and help others be aware of how we feel. But sometimes, and that's where wisdom comes in, sometimes it's not the right moment. And it's almost like you've known that. But what I want to say about that is, if you know that the timing isn't right for you to express something, it's important not to let that make you feel frustrated or make you feel weakened or make you feel irritable or make you feel angry. It's just simply about being really patient and being very wise and aware to understand that when the moment is right, it will reveal itself. And then you get this moment here where everything aligns, that right moment of timing, perfect timing appears, and you're able to express something that you might have been holding on to for quite a while. But because you waited for the right moment, the effect is flawless. The effect is exactly as it was intended. A breakthrough occurs, clarity is revealed, harmony is established again, and reward is there for everybody to experience and receive. So just be patient. Don't let the incorrect timing of something make you feel anything other than just wise and clear and aware. That's all that's needed. Wisdom, awareness, and the perfect amount of understanding for your ability to know when perfect timing has shown up. Okay, that was Earth. Let's move on to water. Water, we have 7 of Cups, the Moon reversed, and Page of Cups. Yeah, very emotional energy here. Very emotional energy here. Water, 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 water. Like the moon is very much watery energy. The moon obviously controls the waters. So what's going on here? I kind of feel like I want to pull all these cards. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. There's another two water cards here. So we have Four of Cups reversed, Three of Cups upright, and then Five of Pentacles. Okay. So what I'm feeling here with the energy of this water reading is that there's definitely a lot to process here. There's a lot to process. There's a lot of emotional energy here that hasn't yet been really understood. Like you might even feel afraid to actually let your emotions really come out. And that's part of what I'm feeling here. There's sort of a holding back. What I'm also feeling in this reading is that it's almost like all the emotions are being amped up. So whether it's anger, whether it's frustration, whether it's irritability, whether it's boredom, whether it's confusion, whether it's joy, whether it's happiness, whether it's like complete bliss. Like I'm feeling emotion on both ends of the spectrum here, and it feels all very amplified. Everything feels like it's turned up a notch or 10. And I think it's important to remember that emotions and feelings are different. You know, emotions are pure energy, and they ought to be just expressed and experienced without trying to limit or control or change in any way the way they are kind of being expressed. I'm not talking about being indulgent in terms of like letting your emotions kind of allow you to take out your aggression on other people. That's not what I'm talking about here, but just the pure expression of emotional energy so that it's not like tampered with in any way. Because that's what could lead to like trauma or like any repressed energy in terms of emotional expression doesn't really go away. It's almost like this ice that we see here in the water card. It's like we know that there's a lot more water. There's a lot more ice here below the surface of the water that is connected to this. So where am I going with that? Don't be afraid to feel whatever you're feeling. Don't feel like you have to. You don't feel like you have to, perform for other people. Don't feel like your emotions. I mean, of course, our energy affects other people, and you do need to be aware about that, and you do need to be considerate of others. But what I'm getting here is that you don't have to feel like you need to be happy so that other people are comfortable. Just be in your own energy, be in your feelings, be in your emotions. Let your emotions be witnessed by you, right? I'm not talking about being indulgent either, as I said earlier, in terms of, taking that out on other people if it's a physical aggression or if it's like an emotional punishment that you're trying to like give to someone else. This is about being self-contained, self-aware, like using this time to actually witness the self and tune into what qualities are really there, what information is actually really there, what opportunities are actually showing up to you through your emotional centers. Like what sensations are you feeling that are triggering awareness? The moon is here in reverse, saying that there's some things that you need to address that you may not have been facing. Like information in the psyche is there and it's buried, but it's somewhat concealed because perhaps at the time when you experienced certain types of moments in life, it wasn't appropriate to express energy in a certain way, or you didn't know how to. Maybe there's some shock. Maybe there was some kind of event that was shocking, and in the moment when it happened, you didn't know you didn't even think about it. It was just like an automated thing where you kind of went into a survival state. And so this could be a moment now where there's some information being triggered or something's being triggered so that some old things in the psyche that are actually emotional energy that have been buried are being brought to your awareness so that you can process them. You know, if you are a survivor of abuse or trauma, that never goes away. Like, you always will be dealing with that, but you don't have to be a victim of the experience over and over again. If you start to address the emotions, if you start to address the events, and just start to be a witness to your own experiences and let yourself feel those things, then you will be able to move on, and the memories of those events won't keep triggering you if you take the time to address them and bring, you know, forgiveness, mostly for yourself too, right? Like, if you're a victim of trauma and you've had, you know, experiences where other people have been inappropriate or been aggressive or immoral or whatever the things are that may have occurred. A lot of times I feel like people who are victims of those kinds of events tend to get stuck in the energy of blaming themselves, and that's also what needs to be healed here. Bringing unconditional love to the self so that you can free yourself up from the way that you might feel as a result of how someone else treated you, so that you don't keep repeating those kind of patterns that where you kind of connect to people that have those similar kinds of energies that will just reiterate or remind you of the feelings, even if they're unwanted. So there's some pain here that needs to be processed. This is the Five of Pentacles. I'm seeing this in a more physical way, like if there's been some physical abuse or some kind of I mean, there's also this is a collective reading as well, so we're talking about global issues here too. Like, let's look at that. Let's talk about the way we have abused Mother Earth, the way we've taken advantage of, the way we've been disrespectful and just, you know, taking the resources and using them without any regard. That's abusive behavior. And all of us are in some way, if you're in any ways emotionally empathic or sensitive, on some level you're feeling that. We all need to be able to be responsible and process that and be more willing to make changes and be more loving, more unconditionally loving and more caring. We have to change our behavior and not be so mindlessly taking what we want. There needs to be a lot of emotional healing. But awareness needs to come first. You have to know that there's an issue before you can take care of it. Okay, I think that's it for water. I'm going to move on now to fire. From the fire, we have Ace of Pentacles, Two of Swords, and Ten of Cups. Here we have Sage of Cups reversed, the Star reversed, and Eight of Cups reversed. All right. All right. Fire. Ace of Pentacles, Two of Swords, a Ten of Cups. It's interesting that there's a lot of water in this reading as well. And this is a fire reading. There's a lot of emotional energy in this spread too. I'm getting with this spread that there's some family issues. Like, maybe for some there's like some people want to make a new start with regards to family, with family issues. There's a desire and a need to kind of turn a page, start fresh, you know, leave the past behind, move on, make a new beginning. plant new seeds, have a fresh start. But there might be still some, and that's a wonderful place to be in. That's a wonderful intention to have. It's very grand. It's very, mature. It's very evolved. But somehow with this Two of Swords in reverse, it feels like wanting to do that, wanting to have that a new start and have a fresh beginning and move on from the past, might be a little bit of a denial moment where you kind of aren't acknowledging perhaps, or aren't dealing with something that is difficult, or some kind of problematic issue, especially with regards to communication. There's something difficult about communication here that's making you feel like you want to just turn the leaf, turn the page and move on. But I don't feel like you are actually able to process and clear things from the past. It seems like they're kind of still there, still lingering, still with you. And these three cards here and in the reading also kind of feel like there is maybe some emotional distortion or some emotional denial about the past. And even though you feel like, okay, fresh start, new beginning, let's move on, let's get to this happy family moment, all this stuff is still below the surface and needs to be addressed in order for the actual possibility of this new beginning to really be fruitful and be real and be as promising as it could be. There's some stuff that's hidden, that's buried, that is deep in the recesses of the mind or in the emotional spaces. There's some pain there. The heart needs to feel safe. That's what I'm getting here. The heart needs to feel safe. There is some emotional baggage that has not been handled. Perhaps you haven't had the skills or the support or the know-how or the way through to do that. But all three of these cards here, the Sage of Cups reverse, Star reverse, Eight of Cups reverse, are all talking about the need for emotional healing, purification. I think it's important to maintain a sense of hopefulness about your ability to heal. Like, I feel for some of you, this Two of Swords here may be suggesting that some of you don't feel like you can, so you'd rather just sort of turn a blind eye and pretend something didn't happen, or just, hope that enough time will go by and you won't feel that anymore. But I suspect here that may not be relevant in this particular case. So it's my hope for you that you find the courage to want to seek a way to explore safely how to resolve whatever feelings you have, how to, express what needs to be said here so that you can feel like your truth is able to be witnessed by someone. I feel that's part of what this is here. For some, it's just simply that they need another person to know what they feel, what they think, what they experienced. But right now, it feels like you might be afraid to express that or to tell that to someone. You may fear that would cause rejection or disbelief or maybe mistrust or something along those lines. So you might prefer to kind of hide that behind a happy face and try to just maintain this sort of sense of, happy life and happy relationship. But you might actually be in a lot of pain. So don't be afraid to undertake your own healing journey. Don't be afraid to seek out, professional help if you feel that would be good for you, The The star here is definitely saying there's a need for healing, there's a need for purification, there's a need for understanding as well, about what happened and how it can actually be beneficial to you in your development, in your spiritual development. But in order for that to happen, you really need to take the blindfold off and stop being in denial. That's what I feel here. Okay, fire. I feel like that's it. I'm going to move on now to air. It's the last element to cover. Air, what do we have? Death reversed, King of Cups reversed, and Queen of Pentacles reversed. All right. And then, I'll wait and pull these in a minute. So, air. Well, it seems like this particular reading here, at least these cards anyway, are about a communication issue between two individuals. Seems like there is not good communication at the moment. Like these two cards, as you can see, these people have their backs to each other. They're maybe not seeing eye to eye. And with death in reverse here, it's definitely, I feel like this is a really powerful connection between two people. It's not necessarily a romantic relationship, but these could be two people that are either close friends, could be two family members, siblings, could be work colleagues, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The two people here, and you could be one of them, where there is some kind of really powerful transformation happening specifically through an incident right now, or in general. This relationship is really unique in that it has this kind of transformative quality to it, where maybe this is not the first time you've come up against some kind of, you know, moment where there's difficulty and tension, where communication may be strained, where it may not be so easy to approach the other person to let them know something, but that you know that this is a connection worth investing in and worth going through these kind of difficult moments, because you know that both you and the other person are healing a lot as a result of these kinds of moments where shadow things show up, where challenging moments show up, where communication is difficult. It's because there's something very powerful to transform and transmute and release. So it's worth investing in, certainly. But maybe again, like, this is not a comfortable moment where people can see eye to eye. There could be some there could be space between these two individuals. There could be no communication at the moment. I feel like there is a willingness from both parties to want to resolve, but at the moment there is a little bit of inability to face each other for whatever reason. Obviously that's going to be different for each person. Let's look at these extension cards. Hanged Man, Priestess, Child of Crystals. I love this. So this kind of feels like a confirmation of what I was just saying. Like, this is a very potent relationship where a lot of healing can happen. Transformation occurs. It's a very deep and profound and loving, but at sometimes painful connection. And with these three cards here, what it's saying is that if individuals can bring truth and bring honest communication, there can be a major breakthrough. There can be a lot of learning. There can be a lot of sharing. What I'm getting with the Hanged Man here is that there is sort of need to be more willing to kind of, how do I say that? There's a bit of humility being brought through with this, because I feel like there's some resistance here for people to face each other and communicate, but for some people, that's simply because they're still processing their emotions and they don't really know how to put language to it yet. So there is an element of just timing there. So there's patience as well with the Hanged Man, a need for patience. But there's also a need to be willing to look at the situation instead of being hurt by what happened, by what was said or what was done. This is more about realizing that from a higher perspective, there is something that you might have gone through a certain experience, and yes, that's your own healing, but you're in a position perhaps where you communicating to another person about your experience can help them heal some kind of glitch in their own personal space as well. So there's a need to be more in service to the healing of all people. All healing, not just your own experience and what you have gone through or what you have endured. Okay? The priestess is asking for there to be truth, for there to be discernment. The priestess is bringing in wisdom, understanding. There's a little bit of detachment there as well. You know, like, don't get too buried in your feelings. Don't get too caught up in the way another person made you feel or what they said affected you. Zoom out and see how you can just understand why that's important that this situation unfolded the way it is, and how you can, I'm hearing penetrate, but how you can create influence in a loving, guided, uplifting, healing way by channeling the priestess energy. And understand that it's a two-way street. You can give wisdom and you can give knowledge and you can give understanding, but you can also receive learning in the experience too. You know, you don't have to look at this from the perspective of, I'm going to show this person, I'm going to teach this person. Because it's not only that. You also need to be willing to learn. You have to be humble. You have to receive what wisdom the other person also brings to you from their perspective. Because there's always multiple ways to look at any situation. So I need to be open. But I do like this. I like the Hangman and Death together. This is number 12 and 13 from the Major Arcana. So with some humility, with some reserve, reservation. What I mean by that is being willing to kind of, reserve judgment or reserve your desire to lash out. You know, there's a little bit of need for kind of just taking a pause to reflect first before you come at someone with your opinions or your perspective, and just take a moment to be this slightly detached. Or actually, the priestess is more about she's the energy of the feminine archetype that is connected to higher intelligence. So bringing that through for yourself first, and yeah, sure, for what you can share to the other person from what you've been able to gather from your quiet meditative space. But again, this page of crystals here, page of Child of Crystals in reverse, is saying that you also need to see what you need to learn about yourself in this circumstance too. It's not a one-sided scenario here. These two individuals are both very powerful and they have a lot to teach each other. They have a lot to share. And Death is simply saying that there is something really big being exposed here that is for those individuals to realize and understand, something that maybe has been an unconscious behavior that is playing out here. And there is healing available when the right moment for communication shows up, and that could be sometime soon if we're seeing this reading come out now. And with the Death reversed there and the Hangman as well, I feel that there's something in a behavioral pattern or a kind of way, like some sort of attachment that you might have to your own personality or your own, the way people perceive you, something like that, that you could be very ready to let go of. And this situation is a catalyst for that, for you to be able to see what that thing is. There's a lot of love here. I mean, this kind of revelation and understanding can't always necessarily happen unless you're being, facing off with someone that you actually really have a lot of love and respect for. I mean, there certainly can be very triggering experiences that are catalyzing between people who may be enemies, but to actually collect the revelation and integrate it and turn it into wisdom, that can only happen when individuals are willing to face each other with unconditional love and respect and humility. And that's basically what I'm seeing here from this spread. All right, and with that, I feel that I'm going to close up this reading. Just check again. I hope you found that insightful. I hope there's some things in there you can work with. It's an honor and a pleasure to read for you. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And I'll see you in the next reading. Bye.